Hello, hello. Thank y'all for your patience. Had a few technical difficulties there. So I appreciate y'all being patient with me tonight. Okay, excuse me. um tonight's live stream is gonna be a little different. Um if you are facing the possibility of having to start over, particularly if you're in your 40s or your 50s and you're wondering what life is like on the other side of that. That's what I want to talk about tonight. Um, if you are new here, let me welcome you to the channel. My name is Adelia Aborishade. Um, and on this channel, usually, I talk about how Black women can live life on their terms, and how to make it happen. But today is a little different because if you saw the thumbnail for this video, you might have a bit of a hint. Um, 30 years ago today, December 17th, 1994, um, I got married. But as you can see, I'm better now. uh, but I thought that this anniversary would be an awesome time to like examine, look back on what it's been like since over the last 10 years. Um, since just just before I turned 40 is when I got divorced. Um, and I got married at 19. So I am 49 now. I will be 50 in March. And so by by the point 10 years ago when I finally got a divorce, I had spent almost my entire life putting me, my well-being, what I wanted to the back. I spent almost my entire life trying to shrink myself and not be noticed, not draw attention. I, prioritized other people. I pretended to be normal so that I would, not rock the boat. And it almost took me out, which is why I made some big changes 10 years ago. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. I'm having to switch between screens. Um, how can you purchase this shirt? This is if there's a website called Feminist Trash, and they are selling this shirt. And when I saw it, I was like, I absolutely have to get this shirt because I am so much better now than I used to be. Um, so, uh, 10 years ago, I got super intentional about making sure that the second half of my life would be very different than the first half. Um, and that instead of just dealing with whatever life threw at me, that I would be very intentional in creating the life that I always wanted. And so, here's the thing. And I thought I've talked about this at different times on this channel, on other people's channel, but again, I'm thinking about somebody who might be in the place that I was 10 years ago and feeling like this ain't it, but also feeling some trepidation about starting over. I think things would have been easier for me if other women would have shared their stories. So That's why I'm here talking about this tonight. Um, I got married when I was 19. I left when I was 39, almost 40. It took me 20 years to get free. And I feel a way about that because during the time that I was living this life, if a friend of mine had come to me and had shared a situation that was mine, but it had been theirs, if they had told me how they were being treated, how they were feeling about life, I would have told them, and I wouldn't have hesitated to be like, girl, you deserve better than that. You should leave. But I couldn't see that for myself. Um, and I think there are a lot of women who are in similar situations in that they themselves can't they can't get past like the fear, because think about it, starting over your life, starting over period, let alone if it's at 30, if it's at 40, if it's at 50, 60, 70, whatever, starting over sounds scary. It sounds like something you would never ever want to have to do. Um, and so I will admit that part of the reason it probably took me 20 years to get free is because there was some fear about starting over. I think that fear keeps us trapped, not just in unfortunate relationships, but it keeps us at jobs that don't deserve us, at jobs that mistreat us. Um, it keeps us in other kinds of relationships, not just romantic ones, be they familial, be they, friendships, what have you, but kind of that fear of one, I got to start over. Two, it's unknown. I don't know what I'm going to face on the other side. And, they talk about the devil is better than the devil you don't, so I get staying places longer than we should. Um, and I think there's also a bit of shame that comes with the thought of having to start over. Society tells us that kind of the whole goal of your adulthood is to pursue certain achievements, certain milestones. And you're supposed to do those in a certain time frame. And if you have to start over, that puts you back at the beginning of the race. How will you win the race if you have to go back to the start? How will you finish the race if you have to go back to the start? And while I'm acknowledging that society is set up to make us feel that way, and I'm also acknowledging the shame of that, because let's be real, if you've got to start over, that means you were unsuccessful. And in our society, being unsuccessful is that's bad. That's low key, that's a moral failure. Um, and so there can absolutely be some shame, uh, some concern about like, well, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Fear of judgment, because low key, that's how the system is set up to keep us, pursuing those things. Uh, and focus so much on moving forward and making progress that we never really have the time to step back and realize like, I don't like this. I'm being mistreated here. This is not my ideal life. You don't really have time to contemplate those things if you are continually on the on the wheel, on the treadmill. uh, I'm gonna look down here to see about comments. Yes. Especially during the holidays. That's something I thought about was is that if you're in a situation where things are not the best, if it's if it's a tenuous situation to begin with, the added pressure of the holidays and all the stuff we're supposed to do and create memories and all that, that added pressure can add to this already existing tenuous situation. 100%. I mean, they talk about um, after the holidays, you usually see like an uptick in divorces and things like that. So, um, so yes, I will fully admit that a part of why I stayed in a place that if a friend of mine had been there, I'd absolutely told them to get out. But I didn't do that for myself. Uh, some of it was the fear of having to start over, dealing with kind of the shame, being perceived as a failure, and all of that kind of stuff. Um, Now I am here 10 years later on the other side and so much better for it. You know, how did I get here? Um, One of the first thing I did, and this is probably, I think the best thing that I did was um, I let go of if only. If only I had left sooner. Like if I'd have left when I should have left, like how much further I could have been into the life that I wanted, the life that I deserved. Um, if only I had done this instead of this. I let go of that. And I also forgave myself for allowing me to be mistreated. Um, because I saw a quote, like on Pinterest or IG or something like that, that was like, forgive yourself for the things that you did in order to survive. That was those two things were what some of the first things that I did. Because again, it's been drilled into us, like what a success, what it does it take to be a success? What does it take to be a successful Black woman? And here I was walking away from what looked like to everybody um, the perfect life. A lot of people were very shocked when this all happened because they were like, oh my gosh, I thought y'all had this great love story. Y'all were this great family, blah, blah, blah. And that's because I was pretending so hard, to keep up the charade. Nobody knew. And so I had to forgive myself. The past is the past. What is that? That line that Rafiki says in The Lion King about don't worry about the past, it's already behind you. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So I think those two things that I did made a big difference and kind of like cleared the way so that I could move toward creating a life that was better for me. Um, the next thing that I did was get clear on, well, okay, this first part of my life was sucky. How do I make the next part not be sucky? How do I have like a good life? And so I had to take some time to get very clear on what that looked like for me. And that's what I did. Um, all of those things that I have been saying someday, oh, I'd love to do this, or I really wish I could do that. All of those things, that all figured back in. It took some work to sort of like get in there. and dig out those dreams that I had pushed down so long ago and I had kept pushing down because, like, oh, you can't do that right now because you've got this responsibility and you've got this other thing over here. You can't really do that. So it took some work to excavate those things. But I got really clear on the life that I wanted to live. And I used that to guide me because I had no plan. There was no grand master plan. So if you if this is speaking to you and you're like, yeah, girl, but I don't know what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it. I didn't either. What I knew was the life that I wanted. And so as things would come up, I would talk to myself, ask myself, okay, if you choose this, does it get you closer to the life you want? Or if you choose that, does it? And the response to that question then guided my next move, my next step. Because again, like I said, I didn't have a plan to. Okay, just checking the comments because I can't see because I'm on my phone. Okay, so that's how I got here. What is it like for me 10 years later after doing something that, like, I've said this before, like I literally blew up my life. What is it like on the other side? One thing that I am almost 100% certain of is that I have probably uh, increased my life expectancy significantly. A few months ago, one of our Tuesday night lives, I talked about how, like, being nice. Uh, there was that research released about how women, particularly Black women, internalize discomfort and all of that, and it ends up causing us to have autoimmune issues, shortens our life expectancy, all of that. I was doing that. I My philosophy, my survival philosophy up until this point in my life had been, okay, just don't rock the boat, go with the flow. I always tried to make everything better for other people. And those of you that have done that, you know what the cost it is for you to just internalize things, your anger, your resentment, all of that. So on this other side, I've not had a doctor tell me, like, oh my gosh, your numbers are so much better now. But I feel with 100% conviction in my heart that I have increased my life expectancy because I made the changes I made. Removed the incredible amount of stress that I was operating in on a daily basis. That is not my life anymore. Um, because I am no longer pretending. I am no longer subjugating the things that I want and the things that I need and putting everybody else's welfare above my own. I am my own favorite person. So that, I think, is different. I'm happy. I could not have said that 10 years ago. I don't think I even knew what it was like to be happy. Um, and so if I did say I was happy 10 years ago, I was probably lying. So I have, for the first time in my life, over these last 10 years, I have experienced real joy, real happiness. And I'm like, what is the point of us even being here on this earth if it's not to be happy? Um, and there is uh, a freedom that I have in this part of my life that did not exist before. A freedom from the shoulds, like, oh, this is what you should be doing. This is where you should be working. This is how you should be presenting yourself to the public. Like all of those things, all of those obligations. Like, oh, well, that's family. You should always do X, Y, Z for them. All of those shoulds. That is no longer in my vocabulary. And so there is a freedom, a liberation from that. And as a result, um, there's a lightness to my life and my spirit that did not exist before. People who had known me, let's say 12 years ago, and then maybe saw me 8 or 9 years ago, would all comment on how different I looked, how different I seemed, because I freed myself from that sense of obligation and all of the weight that came with it. Um, so that's what it's been like for me on the other side. I love it over here, and I want this for everybody. Um, And so if you're watching this video or you know somebody who was in a similar situation, a situation where life is just weighing them down, crushing them. My advice is if you find yourself contemplating making a fresh start, starting over, um, or it's not your choice, but somebody else has made some choices and now you got to start over. Um, it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. See it as an opportunity, not as a disaster, because it isn't a disaster. Whether it's your idea to start this new life or other people made choices and now you find yourself in the situation, um, it is going to work out. This is not a failure. This is simply a, a pivot. This is a change in direction. You've got new information now, and now you get to make new choices. Uh, get good people around you, community, community, community. I cannot say enough about that. Whether that's community in real life or online, but find yourself some people who um, can empathize with what you're trying to do, who maybe people who are also starting over and rebuilding, building a new life. I don't like to talk about rebuilding because that sounds like you're just going to redo what you did before. And I think that's the beauty of starting over is that you get to create something new and you get to create something better than what you had before. So, so I am not sad today. I just think it's wild that the life I have now, um, that 19-year-old girl who got married 30 years ago today, she had no idea something like this was even possible. I hate she had to go through what she had to go through to get here, but I'm so happy that she was able to find her way to the other side. Yes, cannot I cannot stress this enough. Community, there's so many things that the system we live in tries to convince us we should be doing alone and making us believe that leaning on other people and asking for help is a sign of weakness. Um, I get why the system does that because if it can keep you isolated, it can keep you in that system and contributing to it. But A lot of the toughest times I had in the first part of my life, I was alone. I did not have community. And so I will forever, forever be an advocate to that. Um, as many of you know, uh, along with Ivana Robinson, we host Reclaim the Retreat. And one of our pillars, we have three pillars, uh, is community, culture, coaching. Because we are not meant to be trying to move mountains by ourselves. Absolutely. I think of my life like a large book. That that was a chapter been written, now living the first pages of the next. Exactly. Um, for whatever reason, I think we get taught that like the choices we make, we have that like that's it. There's no once you make that choice, there's no other way for you to go. And that was a line of thinking that I know kept me suffering longer than I should have. Because I used to tell myself, oh, you made these choices, these are the consequences of those choices. So now you have to deal with them. And we make choices based off of the information we have at the time. You make the best choice you can with the information you have. But when you get new information, like you marry somebody and then you find out they are not the person you thought, you get to make a new decision based off the new information. And that is not a failure. That's how things should work. So Um, that's really all I got for y'all tonight. Yeah, I'm glad, Pisces Pratt, that this conversation resonated with you. Um, we have to. I th- this is one of the things that helped me when I was sorting through like all of the feelings that I was having about having to start over and create a brand new life. uh, was the fear and the shame and whatnot that I was feeling. Where was that coming from? Because it felt like it was mine, but the more I thought about it and the more I examined it, it wasn't mine. It came from a place of what society told me I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to act and what was the consequences of if I didn't do that. And stepping away from that helped me immensely. Anita, thank you for asking this because I am horrible, horrible about this. Um, there are two places you can go. To get information on Reclaim the Retreat, there is a link in the description of this video uh, for the Reclaim website, which is under construction, y'all. Give me some time. But also, if you get on my mailing list, you can get that information. And I completely forgot. Reclaim the Retreat has a YouTube channel. Um, we are going to be starting something on December 25th called the 12 Days of Christmas. And so you can get on the mailing list at the website or use the link in the description, or you could subscribe to the Reclaim the Retreat uh, YouTube channel so that after the 12 days of Christmas kicks off and like as we make announcements, we will make them on the YouTube channel as well. The YouTube channel, and you can tell how ill prepared I was. I don't have it, but the ad is uh, Reclaim the Retreat. So that's where you can get the information. Um, So yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I need to tell y'all? I don't think so. I had a bit of a false start in my effort to start over. It's been rough working through shame of that and pushing ahead to start again. I'm so glad, Anissa. I'm so glad that me coming on here and put my business out here on the internet uh is helpful. That's why I do this. Y'all, I can tell you what, 10 years ago, I would, if you'd have told me I'd have been on the internet telling folks about my business, I'd have said absolutely not. But I think, like I said, the life that I have now, the the lightness, the freedom that I have now, the joy, the happiness, because I did not have joy and happiness before. Um, I want that for other women. And so if I gotta come on here and tell y'all my business to make that happen for somebody else, I'll do it because I really, really do want this for other women. All right. Um, that's it for tonight, y'all. I will be back on Tuesday. Well, wait, no, I was like, oh, well, I thought I was gonna pack for my trip with y'all, but I won't. I will be on my trip Tuesday. We will still have a live. Um, but yeah. All right. So I'll see y'all then. Uh sign up, uh subscribe to the Reclaim the Retreat YouTube channel so that you can get more goodness like this as part of our 12 days of Christmas. All right, y'all.